Yeah. Yeah. Glitch the guarantee. E&E. Put your boy shit. Glitch, nigga. Shit, I'm about to flood the streets like when the levees break. Criminal minds, my Garcia can navigate. Flowing while I'm blowing this gas. Nigga, no brakes. Niggas not seeing me ever. I mean, no dates. Fuck around and end up gone. You getting misplaced. E&E, the shit that I claim. You dealing with grace. Took over the game by storm like Rain's mixtape. Thankfully, I been up in smoke like my mixtape. Counting cheddar shit, I'm about to make a grilled cheese. Niggas be faker than bad bitches with good weeds. On my John Wick shit like Keanu Reeves. Replacements won't be enough, you need the whole team. I've been a G since I could finish my ABCs. Kept it a buck so real niggas look up to me. This butcher boy shit get crazy. When it's sick of me, I'm coughing out these dope bars till they sick of me.
Can't get rid of me, still can't find a remedy. Still blowing palmers, if it comes to Hennessy. E&E, we own our shit independently. When I go out on a limb, I take extremities. I can see right through on transparency. Heard they self-esteem low, insecurities. Now or never, like glitch the guarantee. What's the recipe? King L's Reflection 3. All these chapters in my life, you can turn the page. Books can't tell you my story, gotta live a day. Glitch got my back, yeah, you can copy that. Man, we control the seat, you can copy that. Leave your whole state red like Republicans. Putting fire on the track, now it's bubbling. Butcher boys, E&E, you in trouble, kid. At first 100 mil, you can double it.
Let's go, let's go. All the hustlers getting money, let it show. Let it show. Automatic nigga, how we get the dough. Get the dough. If it ain't paper, then we probably gotta go. Gotta go. Butcher boy shit, nigga, let's go. Let's go. All the hustlers getting money, let it show. Let it show. It's automatic nigga, how we get the dough. Get the dough. If it ain't paper, then we probably gotta go. Gotta go. Butcher boy shit, nigga, let's go.
Blow sick, corona, jealous in the motherfucker. Can't even take a step, that's how far I trust you. This black boy turned to shining king under pressure. West side fat jacks, I took more to measure. Shave the extras, that's business. Starter fees, street blues, what I talk. Royal blood flowing free. Power on my mind. Knows the gang is kind. Read between the lines. It was in my eye. If they ain't got real lines, it ain't hard to spot a counterfeit. Undefeated ultras, real Fern Gully Mountain shit. Couple hot shots, turn on the frozen margaritas. Even better when it's served with some flawless features. Next year they gotta pay for these flawless features. Flawless victories from the flaws that they teach us. Now my flow imitate how I board the plane nonstop. The little J gon' take over with my time side.
Yeah, I get right to it. My nigga, we beg your pardon. We putting niggas back in boxes. Yeah, they be harder. My flow be retarded. Sick, I need hella help. My groove came back. This must be how Stella felt. We just started kicking it like a yellow belt. We all made it to the pros. This is how LaMelo felt. You better yell out help. Here comes the double team. You catch me in the spot, then you know that the boy is clean. The Louis V look mean with the magazine. So if you try it, you get shot. No vaccine. If you was asleep before I came, then I'm the caffeine. I pull the jokers out the deck. Yeah, there ain't no laughing. In CEO fashion, we sticking to the business. Wouldn't even let a vegan knock me off my chicken. Something about the VVS when the sun is hitting. Should be flashing like the lights when you getting
Let's
tickets.
go, let's go. All the hustlers getting money, let it show. Let it show. It's automatic, nigga, how we get the dough. Get the dough. If it ain't paper, then we probably gotta go. Gotta go. Put your boy shit, nigga, let's go. Let's go. All the hustlers getting money, let it show. Let it show. It's automatic, nigga, how we get the dough. Get the dough. If it ain't paper, then we probably gotta go. Gotta go. Put your boy shit, nigga, let's go.
Yeah. What up? Already know it's the man about town, aka Stats with the facts. And y'all know y'all tuned in to another episode of Real Talk Podcast.
Research.
You did. You already know what it is, man. How y'all doing tonight, man? I apologize for the tardiness, man. I was out taking care of some things, man. Hanging out with my guy, chopping it up with some real ones about some things, man. And I had to, wait for my food to get done and all that. So, but we here now, man, and we're going to get straight to it. What's good with y'all, man? How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? Did y'all enjoy last night's show, man? Last night was a powerful show, man. Last night was very powerful. And everybody who sent their emails, you know what I mean? Everybody who said they really enjoyed last night's show, I appreciate it, man. Like I say, me and my pops, we do this for y'all, man. You hear me? We do this for y'all, man. Don't make no mistake about it. Don't ever get it twisted. Don't ever get it misconstrued. You know, we do this for y'all, man. You know what I mean? We love y'all, man. You know what I'm talking about? We want y'all to be the best versions of yourselves that you could possibly be. You know what I mean? And I mean that. I ain't just saying that, man. I mean that, man. Put a 1 in the chat if you think I'm just saying that or if you think I really mean that. I really mean it. Put a 1 in the chat if you think I really mean that or if you think I'm just messing with y'all, man. Let me know. Holler at me. Let me know what's good. How y'all doing tonight, man? It's Monday night. We here. It's a beautiful thing. Hope everybody that was involved in that tragic looking accident on 270, I hope everybody who was ever involved in that is all good. I hope they safe. I hope they was able to, you know, make it out of that situation because it was looking very tragic. You know what I mean? It was looking very tragic. So anybody who, you know, may have been involved in that accident, I hope they good, man, because it was looking very, very crazy, man. You know what I mean? Y'all make sure y'all drive careful, man. Just like I said a couple of days ago, it was nice outside, and I went and got my car washed on Thursday, and here it is Monday night. It's down near a winter storm, and crazy accidents happening on the freeway. When I was coming over to the crib, man, I don't know what was going on over there on Livingston and Hamilton, but it was going down. They had the whole Livingston blocked off. You can't even go down Livingston as soon as you pass Hamilton going eastbound. All right, or should I say, going eastbound. It's a wrap. I don't know what happened over there, but it looked crazy. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, last night was a beautiful show, man. You know, it was powerful, man. You know, I get something out of them Sunday nights too. You know, it ain't all about just me and my pops just coming on here and, you know what I'm saying, teaching or whatever, man. It's, you know, we get a lot out of that too. You know what I'm saying? It'd be a lot of gems and jewels and revelation and healing coming for us too, though, man. So don't ever get it mistaken, man. It's very much needed. That's why I decided to start doing that. You know what I'm saying? On Sundays. You know what I mean? Because I just think it was something that the people need. You know what I mean? I think it's something that we the people need. We need something that could unify us all. You know what I'm talking about? And I can't think of nothing better to do that than the scriptures. You feel me? Because it's not specific to any one group of people. All right? It's not a race exclusive, culture exclusive, societal status exclusive situation. You know what I mean? And that's what's so beautiful. How y'all out there doing tonight, though, man? What's good with y'all, man? How y'all feeling? You know what I mean? It's a beautiful evening, regardless of what the weather may be. You know, we all woke up earlier today, and we have been awake ever since. So like I always say, we already won, y'all. We got the victory and the glory. You hear me? It's already a beautiful thing, man. Everything else is extra. So if you're here right now, man, you know, give thanks. Appreciation, man. You know what I'm saying? Some humility. You know what I'm talking about? Seriously. Yeah, but tonight we're going to talk about this primary water. Now, put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if y'all are aware of what primary water is or what the primary water cycle is. Right? And it's crazy because I just was kicking it with hanging out and chopping it up with my man Court and one of his guys. And, you know, he is a guy who owns a few properties, man, and you know he don't. In Court also as well, never even heard of primary water. So And I know that the overwhelmingly mass majority of us never have heard of primary water. I know some of us have, but I also know that the overwhelmingly mass majority of us absolutely have not. It's something that I just found about not too long ago. Even I just found out about this a few years ago. So, you know, I know a lot of other people don't know. You know what I'm saying? And when it comes to primary water, we all have not been informed on what it actually is, right? I'm going to put a 1 in the chat if you're familiar, if you know what primary water is or the primary water cycle. Oh, let me do this right here for y'all real quick. Oh, here we go right here. Right, here we go right here. And I'm going to use this because I'm pretty sure I'll tell you wasn't even mine. You hear me? I don't even think she on YouTube anymore. All right.
Power, the founder of the Primary Water Institute, primary-water-institute.org. We are going to be discussing this illustration that you see before you now in detail, which is a description of primary and secondary water cycles. It shows how the mantle of the earth contains H2O. We're going to be talking about the primary water hydrologic cycle driven by Earth's energy. Primary water is created deep within the earth from the synthesis of hydrogen and oxygen under tremendous pressure from the Earth's internal heat. H2O in the form of vapor is forced upward through rock fissures, which are the weakest areas of Earth's crust, becoming liquid as it cools. Primary water is forced upwards, while atmospheric water is subject to the effects of gravity and flows downward. We're going to be talking about this and starting at the left of this primary water and secondary water cycle illustration. And Paul will be joining in the detailed description of what this illustration is showing you. So when we look at the left, Paul, we're seeing at the furthest left a dark line, and it is entitled Natural Primary Water Spring.
Yes.
So that is showing that a spring is coming up deep within the mantle of the earth, and it is primary water. Is that right?
That is correct. Actually, the manifestation of these springs, they are quite common throughout the world. Sometimes they manifest on top of mountains, sometimes in the valleys, sometimes in the middle of the deserts, middle of such deserts as the Sahara, at which point nobody ever asks the questions of what are the oases are all about. They are obviously not a collection of waters that are gathered from a high or a place many thousands of miles away, but in fact, there they are. Suddenly, sometimes they emerge in the middle of the desert, in Sahara and elsewhere. We're in places where they shouldn't be. There shouldn't be any water. There's no water coming down from the sky, yet they come up. Now, the illustration on the poster, where it says where it indicates natural primary water spring, attempts to illustrate how such waters rise from down below, it makes no difference whether they're on a flat area like it shows on the picture, or on a higher structure, top of a mountain, in different places. But nonetheless, they do actually are forced up from down below. They are forced up from down below. And the next one that says primary water well at depth of say 200 to 800 feet, well, it could be from 0 to 800 feet. It hardly matters, because if one is to drill into that same faulted structure, as the illustration so tries to explain, one could encounter this water at any one given depth. It doesn't have to go 800 feet or 1,000 feet. It could be anywhere from zero to whatever.
Now, Paul, let me ask you, because I'm
Sure.
seeing a small dark line between the first illustrated line, which says the natural primary water spring that you just spoke about. And then I'm
Yes.
seeing a small line with a little yellow situation at the top of that dark line.
Well, that attempts to illustrate the drilling rig that is drilling into that fracture. That is what it tries to, what it attempts to do. It attempts to show how you can access that water by drilling into it.
Okay, and then that third line in, which says PW for primary water well, at the depth of 200 to 800 feet.
That's the same one. That's the same. It tries to explain that that particular yellow thing there with the black line into the fracture, it can actually access water.
Okay. Then we're seeing an illustration of rain coming from a cloud over some buildings.
Yes.
And that is, of course, illustrating the secondary water cycle.
Indeed.
Okay, so as we move along to the next line that is entitled permeable surface, could you explain that, please?
Well, that is basically most of the structures that are occupied by habitation, like cities,
Tap in and walk with us,
where
man.
you have
Smash
so
that
much
like button, click on the bell,
topsoil
subscribe to the page, tap in and get this game, man.
and soil.
Primary water cycle.
In other words, permeable soil, that is unsorted material. That could be anywhere from crushed gravel to sands to soil that will have eroded, oxidized on the surface from which we grow our food.
So what is your definition then for the listeners on permeable surface?
Permeable surface is that which has been on the, let's say it has been oxidized, and water can penetrate. Water may penetrate because the material is not sorted, not solid.
So it's void of concrete.
Yes,
or
solid rock.
Okay. Okay. All right. Then the next.
And consequently, it will permit penetration of water from the secondary cycle. You know.
Okay.
In other words, it permits secondary cycle circulation. In other words, you can evaporate it, or you can permeate it.
Okay, so it literally allows the secondary water cycle, which is from rain and or snow melt.
You got it. That's exactly correct.
Okay, then we're looking at the next line that is entitled polluted aquifer.
Yes, well, that any aquifer that is trapped beneath this permeable material which we occupy, okay, has to be polluted because of our presence. I mean not necessarily a malicious presence, but we do occupy that space. So anything that we do, anything we throw away, flush, do away with, will find its way down to this aquifer.
So any pollutants from chemical companies.
So think about that. And I'll tell you what's about to go in, man, right? So look at this area right here, y'all. Right? If y'all see where it point down where it says polluted aquifer, all the groundwater that we access for farming and all that stuff is highly contaminated. You know what I'm saying? So are these reservoirs. These reservoirs are huge man-made lakes, basically. And they're collecting all this runoff water from the secondary process, which is when water evaporates from off of the surface and rains back down. See, we've been told that the water cycle, right, is the water evaporates from off of the oceans, the lakes, the rivers, the streams, and whatnot, as well as the groundwater, and it evaporates up into the atmosphere where it mixes with the different weather streams and all of that, and it rains back down, and it rains on top of mountains, and this collects into streams, and then collects into reservoirs, and letting this is just one continuous. But see, that is the secondary water cycle. Actually, there's a primary water cycle, which happens underneath the earth. The natural movement of the plates, the study and the science of plate tectonics, generates and it creates all types of chemical compounds. H2O is one of them, but not in a liquid state, in a gas state. And it literally collects in the metric tons. And when it cracks through the surface, it evaporates, or should I say it condenses, and it becomes our oceans. So actually, the water cycle that we've been indoctrinated to know and understand is the secondary water cycle. What am I saying? Let's watch the rest of the video. Tap in, walk with us, y'all. Real game we doing over here. Real content we doing over here. Stuff that actually matters. Serious shit. Let's go. Shout out to Auntie Deborah Tavares, man. Shout out to Auntie.
Is from
human beings, animals, plants, rotting plants, whatever.
Right. Okay. So then, so that would be like the injection wells that we've discovered that there are about 680,000 of them, where it was felt.
Well, apart from injection wells, that is basically all the basin water from which we are pumping water out of. In other words, if you look at different areas in the San Joaquin Valley or any other place where you can measure a drawdown from that container, which represents that aquifer, it has already been polluted to some degree by surface occupation, be it humans, be it chemicals. Well, humans and animals are the ones that would be contributing to a pollutant.
So
that?
Now we're looking at the next.
Hold on, we gotta stop it again. Did y'all hear that? Humans and animals are the main contributors to the polluting of our groundwater supplies, most of which is found in these aquifers underneath the permeable, let's say, upper crust of the Earth's crust, right? See, the primary water cycle actually begins in the Earth's mantle, right? And we are only aware of, or should I say, have only been made aware of the secondary water cycle, which is the continuously recycling, the recycling of the already polluted water that's on the ground, that's ground level, right? And right underneath the surface, right? In these, what they call aquifers, right? Now let's go.
Illustration.
Indicator that is entitled reservoir.
Uh-huh.
So we're talking about reservoirs also as being a secondary water cycle containment.
Absolutely. Even if they are constructed higher and above those structures that are subject to human occupancy, because they still receive their water from runoff, from rain, either rain or runoff. Most of our reservoirs that we consider that we use our water to drink for drinking come from those reservoirs.
So we're drinking essentially polluted water, which is why there's the huge push for water treatment, when in fact all we have to do is access the primary water.
Exactly. So pay attention to what the man just said, y'all, right? So just think about in my city of Columbus, Ohio, a little bit north of us in Delaware County, right, is what is known as Hoover Reservoir, right? Hoover Reservoir. And Hoover Reservoir, like many of the 1,000 reservoirs throughout the country, is nothing but a huge collection of wastewater. This is where we get most of our drinking water. This is where we get most of our water, where companies like Walmart and Kroger and Sam's Club and Giant Eagle get their water from, put it through a purification process, and then sell it back to us. Now, mind you, wastewater is consisted of urine, fecal matter, and pharmaceutical excrement. That is what the majority of wastewater contains. And as Auntie Deb just said, most of that comes from, or should I say the homie that she talking to, most of that comes from humans and animals. Right? So think about what the implications of this is, man. Tap in. Let's go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. See, the thing is, there's no way that we can drink the water, for example, any reservoirs that they say, okay, this is a drinking water reservoir. Well, my God, half of them are not even set aside entirely or exclusively for drinking, but you get recreation, you get all kinds of stuff that happens concurrently, even though the water is obtained from runoff. Now you have to treat those. You have to inject all kinds of stuff in there to make sure that that is not harmful.
Now, I wanted to just talk about the two circles in white that are on this illustration.
Okay.
One is the larger of the two circles, the one that is indicating the lower levels of water and is indicated as the primary water cycle. Could you describe to everyone that's looking at this illustration what that white primary water cycle circle is intending to illustrate?
Well, the primary water cycle, which is we didn't know how else to illustrate it any better than what we did, but the primary water cycle implies or expresses specifically that all water originates in the mantle in the first place. That is the water cycle that even before there was an atmosphere, even before water could be precipitated from the atmosphere, because we didn't have any atmosphere. All this water has originated from down below, and it's still.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. My man, Gold Professor in the building, GP, what it do, man? Got the big homie Gold Professor in the building. What it do, big bro? What you know about primary water? See, we've been lied to, y'all. And those of y'all who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, y'all already know and can kind of get the implications of what is being conveyed tonight. Now think about this, what happened up here in my state of Ohio with all them train derailments dumping them toxic ass chemicals into the secondary water cycle. Right? Tap in, walk with me, let's go, man. Y'all ain't gonna get this type of content too many places, man. We're gonna talk about real shit over here, man. Shout out to my brother Red Supreme TV1. Let's go.
Still does.
Shout out to Mr. Al.
It still does, because you see, our ocean levels have been, or they are not the same as they were 5,000-10,000 years ago, and we have evidence of it. I mean, we have all kinds of evidences. But the fact is that they contribute to the total volume of this planet being the water planet it is. And even today, the total volume of our oceans and our water resources are in fact growing.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm.
I understand completely. Now we're looking at the smaller oval white line that is entitled the secondary water cycle, which is then everything that is literally a consequence of the primary water coming up from the mantle. And
in the first place, in the very beginning of time, you know, it's biblical as well. So it's something that somebody dreamt up. I mean, there's references to it. There are references to it.
So
the secondary water cycle came about because first the oceans and water was in fact made, and then the secondary water cycle came about because of evaporation.
So the secondary water cycle is also referred to.
So if you want to put it in spiritual terms, Lucifer, Satan, the devil's contact with the earth, then forming the world, is what created the atmosphere. And the secondary water cycle is actually a result of Lucifer, Satan, the devil's contact with the earth, forming it into the world. So actually, the secondary water cycle is the fallen state of the primary water cycle, which happens within. Now, if y'all can get the gist of what's being conveyed right here, they're telling us that there are water shortages. They make movies about this stuff. They got little Greta Grunberg running around scaring the whole world as if water is going to run out when it is the prime renewable resource, as it is a result of the tectonic plate movement of the Earth's crust and mantle. Hydrogen and oxygen is constantly being generated by the energetic movements of the Earth's mantle. It is a literally renewable resource. It's literally unlimited. There could never be a shortage on water. So the fact that we're being told that it is, and not only that, y'all, we are being fed this horrible toxic blend, what they call it, that is a result of the secondary water cycle, which is filled with human waste, pharmaceutical consumption, excrement from humans and animals, animal waste, environmental waste, industrial waste, and it hides in these little aquifers, that is underneath the upper crust of the Earth's surface. And as y'all look at where the primary water natural ducts come from out of the mantle, you can see that the primary water supply is in danger in lots of places of coming in contact with the secondary water supply, which is polluted heavily. See, when you look at the primary water cycle, you see that this is all the mantle. All the earth crust is sitting on top of the mantle. So as these chemicals as the hydrogen and oxygen, which are a result of the energetic movement of the mantle, as it goes to the surface, it cools and it turns into pure alkaline water. Alkaline water. See, alkaline water comes from within the earth. It is a result of the natural processes of the movement of the earth's mantle. And as a result of coming through the purification process, the natural purification processes, there can never be a shortage of water due to the ongoing perpetual movement of the earth's mantle and the crust on top of which sits, right? Or should I say the crust that sits on top of the mantle, right? This is called plate tectonics, geothermal physics, right? Which I'm well versed and studied in myself personally. Spent about a good 6 to 8 months studying geothermal physics. You feel me? So we've been lied to, y'all. They charging us for this poisonous blend that's full of shit and piss and pharmaceuticals and drug and chemicals. Y'all see what just happened in my state of Ohio in these past few weeks with what happened in East Palestine, Bedford, and goddammit Springfield. Right? So make no mistake, the environmental hitmen are out there. Notice that they are changing the policies from environmental to climate change. There's literally nothing that we can do to affect the climate. Do you understand the difference between the climate and the environment? There's nothing we can do. There's not an amount of trash we could dump in the Earth's oceans to change the trajectory of the jet streams in the ocean. Right? Climate and weather aren't the same thing. Or should I say, climate and environment aren't the same thing. And y'all can kind of get an idea why they switched the word up on us, man. And that's why I say we've been indoctrinated and manipulated perceptually through word association. Because when you hear the climate, you automatically thinking about the environment, not realizing that the climate and the environment are two different things. Brownie, what's up, baby? We got my baby Brownie Ellie in the building. What's good with y'all? Smash that like button, click on the bell, subscribe to the page, man. Y'all know y'all know Stacks with the Facts are gonna bring y'all this info, man. We're gonna break it down. We're gonna walk it down. We're gonna break it down to the very last compound, man. Right. And I want y'all to understand the reason why I'm doing this show tonight as a result of what's been happening in my state with all these train derailments. Right? Any train derailment that was carrying toxic, noxious, dangerous, health hazardous, life-threatening chemicals has a potential threat to the water supply, being as how right here in the state of Ohio is the Ohio River Basin. One of the largest river basins in the country. And matter of fact, every body of water from here to west of the Mississippi going into the Sierra Nevadas is connected and originates from the Ohio River Basin. So I want y'all to over, inner, outer understand how important this actually is and what this actually implies for us, especially in Ohio, especially in East Palestine, right? And this is the reason why I'm having this show tonight, because I want y'all to over, inner, outer understand that there's a difference between the primary water cycle and the secondary water cycle. The secondary water cycle is the only water cycle to which we have been informed about. See, we ain't really been told about the primary water cycle. A lot of us think that the water that's in the oceans came from out of the sky. A lot of us believe that the oceans got filled up from water that rained down from the sky. No. The water, as you can clearly see from the oceans, came clearly, obviously, matter-of-factly, common-sensically from within the earth. And that's the primary water cycle. So them sitting up here telling us all over the world that there's water shortages, seeing as how we know about primary water, why on earth do we have deserts anywhere when they can simply merely access that area's primary water, right? Now think about when I was talking to y'all the other day about what our brother, rest in the essence to him, Muammar Gaddafi did. One of the very first target when Obama's administration invaded Tripoli, you hear me, Libya, the first thing they did was blow up the man-made river project, which was Muammar Gaddafi accessing Libya's primary water sources, which is why he was able to create the man-made river project that brought water, pure, alkaline, unpolluted, healthy water to everybody in Libya, free of charge. And y'all wonder why they went in there and took out Muammar, on top of getting Libya off of under the debt of the Rothschild-owned International Monetary Fund and International Finance Society or financial structure. And what Muammar did was he had reestablished the gold standard. He took control of the country's oil reserves and nationalized them and made all the oil companies become nationalized to where all the profits from the oil industry went right back to the people where it's supposed to go. Anybody who wants to pursue a career in nursing in Libya goes free of charge, right? Libya was the 7th most booming economy in all of Africa. I think number 4 in all of the Western Hemisphere, and like number 4, 5, or 6 in the world. So Muammar was doing beautiful things over there in Libya, and y'all see what they did to him. I'm talking about they took Muammar out on national TV, man. To be a reminder to any of these world leaders who think they're going to get from underneath the bootstrap of the Rothschild-owned financial system and structure. But we only know about the Rothschilds. Oh, there's many more families that we do not know about, right? We only talk about the ones we know about. And we just now finding out who they really are, right? You got guys like me who going to expose these people and break it down, connect the dots, right? What y'all know about primary water?
Atmospheric water.
Indeed, because it was.
Now, y'all hear all this talk on the news about atmospheric rivers. Y'all hearing about these atmospheric rivers? These atmospheric river systems? Right? And these atmospheric river systems are a result of the HARP technology, or what we can just easily just may as well just say the weather manipulation weaponization technology, right? High active auroral research program, high frequency active auroral research program, or HARP for short, right? Where they create a technology, right, through harnessing the electric power of the ionosphere, right? They can influence, manipulate even weather systems. Now, this is why we're being indoctrinated with climate change versus environmental degradation or environmental neglect. This is why environmental issues are being compounded with climate issues. right? Are y'all connecting the dots for yourselves? And this is what I'll be talking about when I be telling you about UN Agenda 2030. All of this stuff is connected. This is why we have the climate action and resilient plans. Shout out to Auntie Deb, because she's the one who I learned all this stuff from, right? I strongly suggest y'all do some research and look into what your city's climate action and resilient plans are. If you live in a small city or town, just type in the name of the largest city that you live next to or close to, and you type in their climate action and resilient plan. Like, say, for instance, if you live in Columbus, Ohio, right, or should I say, if you live in Reynoldsburg, Ohio, or Pickerington, Ohio, which probably has a climate action. So all you got to do is put in Columbus, Ohio, climate and action and resilient plan, right? Or if you live in Peoria, Illinois, just type in Chicago, Illinois' climate action and resilient plan, right? And see, they compounded environmental issues with climate issues. So when we hear climate change, we automatically, word association, assume that is something to do with the environment when it has nothing to do with the environment, which is why the environment is being depleted and destroyed exponentially on a day-to-day basis, especially with something like this secondary water cycle. Now, how long is it going to be before our oceans become completely polluted? Remember the oil spill of 2010, the BP oil spill? Y'all think that water in the Gulf is safe? Let's go back to Auntie Deb, man.
Evaporated from surface waters such as the oceans and lakes.
Walk with us, man.
Because even today, all of our lakes and rivers and oceans will evaporate a volume of water due to the presence of our sun and heat.
So all of the containment of water that's on the surface, such as the oceans, the reservoirs, and the lakes, are all as a result of the primary water surfacing, and then and then becomes the secondary water cycle. So I think this is a terrific illustration in the sense that it is really showing people the two cycles of water. But really what we're talking about here is the originating cycle, which is the primary water cycle, which is, again, as we've discussed, the expression of all the surface water. So as we look then again at this illustration, and we have just talked about the reservoir and the dark line that indicates the reservoir, and we continue to move towards the right, we see another dark line that has runoff.
Yes, well, now you see where it shows the runoff, and as you approach further to the right, it shows up top of a mountain with some vegetation. Well, the runoff originates on the highest point. Well, any point that is higher than the lowest point will experience runoff. Well, that runoff could actually enter the reservoir, not the reservoir, but the runoff, that water, which is the polluted aquifer. Because you see, not only do we add water to the aquifer from the surface through the permeability of the soils, but also if on the top there are entrance to the lower portion of that aquifer. In other words, suddenly you have now two items that are commingling water. One comes from runoff, okay, and one comes from human habitation.
Mm-hmm.
Do I make myself clear? I don't know if I.
Yes, you do. And also, then we have the atmospheric pollutants as well.
Yes, indeed. Anything that comes from the atmosphere, and then here it should be emphasized that radioactivity is one of those things. So So we are now polluting that, basically that aquifer that right now we think that we are really using, and we are using it. Of course, it's one of the best known sources, because you see it's got a stability in a sense that it is a bathtub like, or a given, it has a given volume. You could measure it.
So in essence, the secondary water cycle is, as we now know, literally polluted water that is on the surface, and that is what we know to be our drinking water. So we're drinking polluted water.
We are.
Okay, so now we go on top of that first mountain peak as we're working our way towards the right.
Easy,
and as you just discussed, we see the atmospheric runoff due to what is being illustrated as a cloud and a downpour.
Indeed.
And now
then you see a highly purged water, could be a lake, anything, but it still derives its source not necessarily from human habitation, but still it's polluted from the surface by whatever happened on the top, and also by that which is being recycled from the atmosphere.
So we're seeing that lake, as you had said, again.
That's very pristine and very pure, but it is not pure enough.
Yes, because it still exists because of the secondary water cycle.
Indeed.
Because I'm not seeing any fissures that look like they're going into that.
Correct.
Into that
and that's
basin.
one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons it was delineated, and also it shows another aquifer from runoff.
With the info, what happened
the secondary cycle? You notice that where it says
I do.
Aquifer?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is still definitely the quality is definitely negated by the fact that it is an atmospheric in origin.
Okay. So now we go above where it says aquifer from runoff, and we go to that mountain that has the green vegetation on it, and the arrows are going up, which is looking to me like that means and indicates water evaporation.
Indeed. Anything that is on the surface will evaporate. If it contains any moisture, it is subject to evaporation.
So is it fair to say when it evaporates, it's polluted water that's evaporating that is then coming back down and getting even more highly contaminated?
Yep.
Well, indeed, because if it is filtered through the permeable surface, which is contaminated for sure by our presence, and also we have managed to contaminate the atmosphere with radioactivity, so we are actually...
Not only have we managed to pollute the atmosphere with radioactivity, we have managed to pollute them with actually solid metal particulates, which are radioactive themselves as well. My man Blade Monger say, underground water, aka groundwater, contains high levels of uranium. Chemotherapy will not prolong your life if you drink water polluted with uranium. Bone cancer comes from drinking ground. Exactly. Water that is a part of the secondary water cycle, right? But see, we don't get told about primary water. See, Dr. Sebi knew about primary water. Muammar Gaddafi tapped into Libya's primary water supply, which is why he was able to create the great man-made river project, like I said, which brought water to over 80% of the people who needed it in Libya. And I'm not just talking about just water, I'm talking about pure, alkaline, fresh water, the type of water that make your brain work the way it's supposed to. You know, the type of water that make your muscles grow stronger, the type of water that we can breathe. The type of water that we can breathe. Huh? Because as the hydrogen and the oxygen forms and combines after it gets after it's evaporated fully from the you know, the movement of the mantle underneath the Earth's surface, right? Hydrogen and oxygen is a result of those movements, right? So the water that comes from out of the ground is pure. It's the most healthiest, purest water you could drink, right? All the water that we drink and consume is a product of the secondary water cycle. All of this stuff that comes from these aquifers that are being filtrated, right, through the already corrupt, contaminated ground supply. Now think about what happened in my state of Ohio recently. How much do you think the groundwater supply is contaminated now in that region? I could pull up a video right now where when they were scraping the damn water in the creek and the damn chemicals was coming out of the damn ground. So that lets you know that that water is fully contaminated. And my man spoke on cancer real quick. Cancer is a bacterial infection. A simple consumption of Savitrols will heal you from your cancerous cells, which this is just an overaccumulation of cells where they shouldn't be, right? Now, if we had our natural alkaline diet, drinking alkaline infused fruits that weren't genetically modified, drinking alkaline water that wasn't purified, our bodies would be in an alkaline state, which means that we could never have to worry about cordyceps fungal parasites infecting our bodies. Y'all see how I connect so many dots? This is all a result of the secondary water supply, right? Now think about when I talk to y'all about The Walking Dead and stuff like that. How did listen, in The Walking Dead, everybody turned to a zombie, even if they weren't bit by a said zombie to become infected. If you die from natural causes, if you die from being shot, if you die from being stabbed, if you die from being electrocuted, whatever it was, you will automatically turn upon officially dying, whether you were bit or not. So what does that tell you? That tells you that whatever the disease, virus, whatever it was that caused people to become walkers in The Walking Dead, that means it was in everybody. And how could something like that get into everybody? The water supply, the food supply, the pharmaceutical supply. Have you ever been to a chicken coop? We got lots of them up here in Ohio. Not too long ago, a few years ago, 2 of them caught on fire, Tyson Farms. Right? Smash that like button, man. Click on the bell, subscribe to the page, man. Sharing and social engineer, man. I'm sitting up here chopping up heavy game with y'all, man. Right? Actual content. So why are they lying to us about the water shortage? Because they know if they can, the longer they can keep us, and when I say us, I mean us regular folks, as long as they can keep us unaware of what the primary water supply is, not tapping into it, they can continue to asset strip us by manipulating us into drinking, bathing, cooking, everything we do with water from the secondary water supply, which is contaminated. All of this water has to be evaporated, which is contaminated. All of this surface water, right? And when I say surface, I mean of the earth crust surface, because even this aqueduct is considered surface water, right? This water is being filtrated and evaporated through contaminated land, contaminated soil, so to speak. Think about, like I say, all them chemicals that just was dumped in East Palestine. That's the Ohio River Basin right there. That's the mouth of the Ohio River Basin. All of that water is going to be evaporated, and it's going to be taking all of them dangerous ass toxic chemicals with it. And it's going to evaporate into the atmosphere, right? And then it's going to rain back down on the oceans and the rivers and the streams and the ponds and the retention ponds and the wherever else, on the crops, on us, our cars, our houses, all of that. It's going to get into other water supply like the oceans and all that stuff. And then we just have a constant conveyor belt of the recycling of this horrible water. Or let's take it spiritual. Lucifer. Lucifer spelled backwards is reficle. Reficle is a Latin Vulgate word meaning the recycling of fecal matter. So we have straight reficle with the secondary water supply, literally. And now we got these little landmines all across the world called wastewater treatment facilities. Wastewater treatment facilities. Why are they treating wastewater? And what are they treating it with? Right? I wonder if any of y'all ever asked yourselves that question. Why are they treating the water, and what are they treating the water with? Their recycling are basically shit, piss, and pharmaceutical excrement water and feeding it back to us. Recycling of fecal matter, recycle, spelled backwards, is Lucifer. Oddly enough, there's a family of chemicals, right? Or a family of neurotransmitters called luciferase. I keep telling y'all that we have the genetics of Lucifer, Satan, the devil in all of us due to ease contact with the serpent. We all have a R complex, which we were not originally designed with. Now, the secondary water supply is the basic manipulation. It is the inversion of the primary water cycle, which the Most High created in all its fairness, equality, and balance. And now we have the secondary water supply, which is the actual manifestation of what Lucifer's name means, spelled backwards, inversion. So whereas we have the primary water cycle, the Most High's natural creation, now we have, as a result of Lucifer's contact with the earth, turning it into the world, now we have the fallen state of the primary water cycle, which is the secondary water cycle. And instead of the recycling of natural alkaline purified water, now we have the recycle, the recycling of fecal matter, the inversion spelled backwards of Lucifer. So you gotta be able to dissect darkness, man. And the Most High has to give this to you. Y'all preachers ain't been given this. So what that's telling y'all? What y'all know about primary water? Put a 1 in the chat if before today you've heard of primary water or the primary water cycle. I want y'all to understand. Glitch the guarantee was good, man. I want y'all to understand that when Obama administration invaded Libya back in, what was that, 2010, I want y'all to understand that the very first thing the Air Force blew up was the Great Man-Made River Project. That's the very first thing they destroyed. And this is why we got the current situation going on in Libya we got going on right now. Open slave markets. My man Glitch said one. I know, listen, I've only learned about the primary water cycle like I think 5 years ago. A little over 5 years ago, like right when I first came home, like around 5 years ago. Right. Shout out to Auntie Deborah Tavares, man. I've been telling y'all about Auntie. Auntie Deborah Tavares, she's one of the people who done got kicked off of YouTube because she's kicking too much truth. She got a website called stopthecrime.net. All one word, www.stopthecrime.net. I give hella thanks and hella respect to Auntie Deborah Tavares, man. She put me up on a lot of game I know about right now, right? And she was one of the people spearheading this stuff when all this stuff, because she used to live in Paradise, California. You know, her husband, they owned a lot of property out there. And she did her homework and she figured out. Shout out to Auntie Deborah Tavares. Y'all go look into Deborah Tavares's research. www.stopthecrime.net. You said you heard about it in 2019, Glitch? Primary water. Right? So you have to ask yourself this question. Why are they lying to us about there being water shortages? Right? There could literally never be a shortage on water, seeing as how it is constantly renewing itself in the Earth's mantle. It is a renewable resource. It is constantly replenishing itself, constantly. The oceans are growing. They're getting bigger. You know? Tap in, walk with me, y'all. Smash that like button. Let's go, man.
Adding radioactivity to our water source from nuclear problems.
So not only that, though, not only is this already contaminated water being contaminated from, our piss, shit, and the pharmaceutical and chemical excrement, right? Once it evaporates, after being evaporated and infiltrated through already contaminated earth, soil, land, now it has to also go through the process of being filtered through the actual atmosphere, which is contaminated and polluted with heavy nanoparticulates, heavy metals, uranium, iridium, barium, strontium. You feel me? Like dioxin. These are chemicals that should just not be present in our atmosphere or in our groundwater at all. Right? And then they let companies like Kroger, Walmart, Sam's Club, all these different water companies, they allow these people to bottle this shit up and then sell it to us as if we drinking something that's good for us. Unless your water done been through the process of reverse osmosis, man, it's contaminated. I don't care what type of purifier you got in your house or in your house's system. I don't care about what water filtration system you got. That's especially why what happened up in Palestine was allowed to happen, to make sure that y'all better realize what's going on with here, man. That's all I'm saying. Y'all realize what's going on, man. These people do not care about us, man.
Okay.
It's not so much.
So now as we work our way down into that next lake runoff and primary water, we're seeing then how primary water can influence the surface water by actually coming up from the mantle and injecting primary water into what is also being collected as a lake runoff.
Okay, and then that water is commingled. You could make the same case, and now in retrospect, we should have shown also on the very front of the picture where we are showing natural springs, etc., how that water too is actually commingling with the polluted aquifer, because everywhere where there's an aquifer, primary water is commingling with that aquifer. There's no two ways about it. There's no way out of it, because everything is faulted, everything is fractured.
So it's the process of pollution and dilution of the pollution.
You got it. You have a situation where surface and primary waters commingle.
Okay. Then we're looking at all of these fissures that are coming up all along the base of this the mantle or the mountain range, as people would view it. That's an expression of the constant and continual availability of the primary water as it is continually and constantly surfacing.
Well, in places, as you notice, below that next peak, it is not surfacing in any shape or form, because it's not surfacing in the shape of springs or anything. Now, when you go farther over, okay, and you start to looking at those little yellow things meant to illustrate drilling rigs. You can access those waters that are trying to surface.
Okay, so
horizontally and vertically.
Okay, I see that. Now, what I'm looking at then is that third peak going to the left that has the second cloud over it, showing the rain falling on the peak. And then I'm just looking to the right of this peak, and I'm seeing what you're showing as a horizontal rig with a dark line going into the primary water fissure that's coming towards the top of that peak.
That's exactly correct. So you could access that at any given level.
Then, as we work our way to the right, just a little bit here, we're seeing again the yellow indicator of the drilling rig and the dark line that is going down vertically into that fissure and also accessing primary water.
It's not the same fissure, but it originates in the same place.
I see that. I'm glad you pointed that out. So they're both getting into primary water in different fissures. One is horizontal and one is vertical.
Right. It depends on the setting, and it depends on the logistics. Can you drill it this one horizontally? Is there a place where you can put a rig? Because obviously there are many springs too that were acquired by drilling horizontally into these structures that are still flowing. They have been flowing for the last, ever since they were hewn into the mountainside, as it were. And because in the old days we didn't have rigs. We didn't have drilling rigs like that. We do now.
Okay. So then as we move along to the right,
walk with us, man. Hit that like
now looking at the ocean.
Okay.
And we're showing evaporation with the arrow that's pointing up. And we're also showing fresh water springs and wells that are
Vents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So where it says freshwater springs and vents, and those are actually then adding, commingling, as you say,
Yes.
the primary water from the mantle of the earth up into
Right.
the surface water, which is the ocean.
Well, the difference, you notice it's not as dark blue as the other ones. Is that meant to illustrate that the water actually, most of the water came originally from a primary source, but it is in fact salty. But that is the best illustration of the total volume that we can imagine, how much volume came in at once. But more water is added to it. And even today, as we speak, there are places on this planet, like for example off Hawaii in several places, where fresh water does come up out, some places it's as close as 50 feet from the shore in salt water. And the people that live there, they go in there, literally capture that water in bladders, that fresh water, because otherwise they don't have rain. They have no other sources of drinking water. So they figured out that somebody found out that this fresh water is coming up. So they are capturing that water.
So now would it be true or possible that if they knew that they could drill for it on that island, and obviously it would be determined how much money it would cost and the availability.
Yeah, you could do it, but you would have to exclude the salt part of that water. In other words, you'd have to go ahead and have a barrier first to create the column. So
I see.
So but that's all, and that will happen. I'll tell you what. Before this is all said and done in the next 20 years, there are many islands out there in the Pacific that in fact rely entirely on rainfall for their sustenance, and they are in fact sitting on all the fresh water there is. However, they are unable to reach it because many of them are coral in composition. So they will have to exclude all the surface salt water to enter those boreholes where you could access fresh water into solid, unsorted solid volcanics.
Well, that's interesting because, of course, Aruba would be an example of an island. And when one goes to Aruba, they see the cistern system that is on every roof, capturing the secondary water because of the inability, I guess, to access the primary water. That's what you're talking about?
Indeed.
Okay.
Indeed.
Okay.
The whole thing is that there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of islands in the Pacific where the native people have they have to capture rainwater in order to sustain themselves. Now the problem is now getting increasingly atmospheric pollutants which come from radioactivity. Like Fukushima.
Yes.
Those waters are in fact not helpful in any sense of the word.
Now, let me ask you a question. We're moving our way. We're looking at the ocean right now,
Okay.
And then we're to the right of where we're looking at a fissure coming up, but it's not exiting into the ocean. What is happening with the force of that water attempting to literally surface when it's not able to surface?
Well, it is contained. It is contained and is forced backwards. In other words, that structure is not open to nothing. It's just sitting there, basically under the same pressure as the overall mantle.
So it basically is like a river that's encapsulated.
Yeah, it's capped. It's capped water, basically. It's
Okay.
It could be used. It would be obviously. Sensibility would suggest that it should be tapped for human consumption instead of just permitted to come into the bottom of the ocean. In other words, we get such an enormous volume of water down below that is good water, fresh water, and good in every sense of the word. That is simply adding to the total volume of the planet's water. This this water planet is actually growing in size, and it will be growing in size for some time.
Now, let me ask you, when we see a capped fissure that is not able to surface.
Well, it's not capped. It's just never surfaced.
Yes. Okay. Is it then better to allow it to exit to reduce the force of that water against the?
Well, it makes no difference. This planet doesn't. This planet provides for us to use. It makes no difference to the planet whether we use it or we don't use it.
Okay. So then we're moving along to the right, and we're seeing this mountaintop where it's a volcanic eruption and release of water vapor. Could you talk about that?
Well, there are simply no volcanic eruptions known anywhere that are without water vapors, which is a further proof of the fact that in an unsorted fashion, the magmas, when they surface in the form of eruptions, volcanoes, they bring along with them a yet undistilled, unseparated a lot of water in the form of steam. Those waters are trapped in such configuration that the only time they can be released is when you have an eruption.
So is that similar to the thinking of distilling water, and then it comes back down as water at some point?
Distilling water would be more like you would have to heat. Well, yes, you could make a case for that, but this is, at any rate, with the magmatic material that comes out from down below, there is water trapped also. Mm-hmm. So along with the eruptions, you always have water.
I see.
And it doesn't have to be in the middle of the ocean. It can be anywhere. Whenever a volcano erupts, it will erupt, and also it produces a great deal of steam.
Yes. So
that's where a lot of the water come from too, man. A lot of pure water, man. Out of them volcanoes, man. Right? Tap in, walk with us, man. We're talking about the primary water and primary water cycle. Right? Why are they telling us we're running out of water, man? Right? Shout out to Auntie Deborah Tavares.
And when it doesn't erupt, we have hot springs throughout the world, all over the place. The water and the material comes up so close to the surface, and quite frankly, I yet to understand the logic of Yellowstone's explanation of how this water comes up from the sky, and then an old faithful will erupt every so often, 2 or 3 times a day or whatever. Well, now it seems to do that whether we have any water from the atmosphere coming down or not. So the point is that those waters in these hot springs, whether they are geysers that are intermittent, such as the old faithful or not, or the geyser in Nevada.
Oh yes, the Sky Geyser.
The Sky Geyser.
That was as a
whether they're intermittent or not, they contain minerals, and they are hot.
It's like a mountain.
They are hot.
Y'all hit to this right here, the Sky Geyser. The Fly Geyser. Right. This thing look crazy as hell. All right. Y'all see that, right? Y'all see the fly geyser? This is out here in Nevada. That thing look crazy, don't it, man? Like something from outer space or something, right? That thing look crazy, man. Right? Shout out to my man Lance Parker in the building, man. It look crazy, don't it, Mr. O, right? I'm about to open up the panel here shortly.
The differentiations of magma where oxygen and hydrogen is permitted to make water. At the same time, they are driven by the heat and the forces from down below. So thus they can manifest. Invariably, those springs are also
you over there sipping on that Captain Morgan's Blade Monger, man.
Or another. In other words, invariably, if you have a surface emanation of primary waters, specifically if it's hot, it invariably will have an element of radioactivity associated with it. Now, be it radium or be it strontium, etc., it all depends on where it is associated and where it is in relation to a whole lot of things.
Well, I know that some people have been taught to think of rainwater as being distilled water. What would you say to that?
Well, in fact, it is distilled water in a sense that it has to evaporate. See, water has the unique property of turning into gaseous, steam. In other words, if you subject well, of course you can verify that in your own backyard or in your kitchen. If you put a trap over a container of water, with water, you will note that it will want to steam. Now that is evaporated water. That is water that is pure in every sense of the word. There's nothing else in there. It doesn't carry any minerals with it that would otherwise be associated with those waters that are coming from down below. That have to find.
Did y'all hear what the homie just said? Did y'all hear what the homie just said? So, when water is in its vapor state, in its gaseous state, it's as pure as it's going to get. When water is in its gaseous state, right, anything that could be possibly contaminating to it, it gets automatically annihilated because it's a lot of properties, or it's a lot of chemicals, a lot of stuff on our planet that, doesn't have a gaseous state. Right? Or should I say, on our surface, it's not able to be in its gaseous state on the surface. Now think about our atmosphere, right? Exactly. All right. That's some good information that Blade Monger is giving for real, man. All right. So water vapor or steam is pure water, uncontaminated water. So now I can kind of get an idea of what happened in East Palestine and why. It don't take a rocket scientist to figure out what happened in East Palestine. Clearly was allowed to happen. I would even go as far as saying made to happen. Not necessarily the event itself, but the things that led up to it, like the horrible upkeep of the actual rail lines themselves. All right. Niquay, what's up, baby? Intensely allowed to deteriorate over the past 20-something years. Y'all got to understand how diabolical these people are, man. I got 20 and 30 and 40 and 50-year plans. They plan ahead in 5-year increments. Right? So as a result of the secondary water cycle, we are consuming ourselves, basically, which is a form of cannibalism. All this bottled up water we get, I don't care what brand it is, it's contaminated. It's all a product of the secondary water cycle. And this is why they not only poisoning and contaminating the land with fraudulent ass derailments like what happened in Ohio, right? They also are creating zoning laws, ordinance laws, land right laws to where you can't even access the primary water that your actual property may be sitting on. This is why I tell y'all they bring it in the smart grid. This is why they bring it in the smart grid. So they can regulate, monitor, track, and trace everybody's energy output, input, carrier signal. What I mean by that, if you live in a smart home and you have a smart meter on your house that regulates all the input, output of the energy, which means it knows exactly what type of energy is being used and what it's being used for and how long is it being used. I'm talking about they got this stuff down to where they can see how much electricity you use per monthly when you iron your clothes or when you cook food in the microwave or in the oven, right? I'm talking about prime real estate, Lance Parker. You hear me? Prime real estate. Now, I came into some information about a year or so ago where the Rothschild family now owns the Great Lakes. Not one of them, all of them. Right? So when we're talking about the primary water cycle, y'all, we're talking about an unlimited renewable resource. We're talking about this stuff covers over 2/3 of the earth. Oddly enough, consequently, our bodies are also 2/3 water. Right? Water is literally 2/3. It is more covers more surface of the earth than land does by far. Y'all really think all that water got on this planet from raining out of the sky? I mean, if you believe that, go ahead and believe that, right? But clearly, you will be dabbling in the arena economy. This is as I just sit up here and Auntie Deb and this guy breaking down the primary water cycle, which starts from within the earth. Right? I want y'all to understand the levels that we have been manipulated, the extent to where we have been manipulated. You hear me? Because a lot of us actually believe that there's a water shortage. A lot of us actually believe right? Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Hit that like button, y'all. I appreciate y'all tapping in, man. Listen, we're going to get to it. Primary water, right? Let's go.
Find their way up, and especially in a heated form, they tend to dissolve minerals and carry those minerals with it.
Okay. Now, I found it very interesting and a very important definition of what hydrogen means, because you had referred me to the definition, and I was surprised what we have not been taught in school. And certainly when you look at the Greek definition of hydro, which means water, and then you look at hydrogen, genes, it means water forming.
Yeah.
So when we really look at what hydrogen is, and we realize that it is an element, and it is one of the most prevalent elements on the planet.
Well, probably in the universe too. Now they're finding all these ice cubes floating around them. You know?
Yes. Well, so we have plenty of water. So now we're looking at this illustration. We're moving down from what we see as the volcanic eruption. And we've talked a bit about the surfacing of primary water and how that then comes about in many areas in the form of hot springs.
Okay.
And then we're moving along down that mountain. We're seeing other fissures that are encapsulated. They're not exiting. And then we're seeing where it says fault lines filled with primary water. And then we're seeing some yellow lines coming out from the far right of this illustration and somewhat going vertical, but not necessarily.
Well, they could be. Those are basically those are also fault lines, but they really intended to illustrate shear zones, and that can happen any whatever directions. We just didn't want to have them put onto one single area where you couldn't refer to them.
Now, when you mean a shear zone, could you explain that?
Not a shear.
Well, when you have these earthquakes, you know. In other words, the material, the solid material, is sort of bouncing around. It depends on which way the push comes from, what direction. Portions of it could break off and pushed forward one direction or another, upward, sideways, so forth. They are not faulted lines in the real sense of the word that they are vertical. They are in fact horizontal. They are faults also, but they are a result or a consequence of activity from down below, indirect activity, I should say.
Now, let me ask you a question that I've heard other people question as well. If we were to allow more drilling of wells that actually was intentionally directing the intention of those wells towards primary water, would it reduce some of the stress of the water trying to exit that hasn't been able to, and to perhaps reduce some of the earthquake zones a bit, take some pressure off?
Well, it could, but in a sense that it wouldn't stop Earth movements, because you see everything down below is under stress. What it would do is potentially mitigate major Earth movements. In other words, it would be better to create an earthquake that is, say, 2 instead of a 7.
Yes.
In other words, I'd rather live through 10 of them that are 2 than one of them that, well, first of all, it's not on the scale.
Right.
Than one of them that would be tenfold.
Right.
All at once. So basically, the argument on that one, the argument can go any which way. But it is a fact that by accessing these structures, you would most certainly effect Earth movement. But I would prefer to, as I say, for my own logic and for my own personal well-being, I would rather see them happening around 2 or 3, and then say, oh yeah, that's a result of of the swell over here. Then wait for a day when there's nothing there, and suddenly we get a one that is 7 or 8.
Well,
because
Hey.
the whole planet underneath is very much alive. I don't know. Everybody always thinks that this planet somehow ceased to breathe. And
did y'all hear what the homie just said? Did y'all hear what the homie just said? The earth is alive. The earth is a living organism. This is where the demonic ideology of the Gaia religion or New Age thing comes from. All right? Yeah, I'm hip to that, Blade Monger, right? I'm hip to that, right? But in order for them to do that, you know, of course they're going to have to remove the people from the area because that's a process. And of course, it's a simple process, but clearly they don't implement them because obvious reasons. And I know a lot of people don't like to think like this. A lot of y'all like to try to, and this is what I be saying, though, man. Kevin O'Leary said it best today, man. Shout out to Kevin O'Leary, man, from Shark Tank, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all go check out that pre-recorded video I did talking about, goddamn it, this whole thing with SVB Bank and Signature Bank and all that stuff, y'all. Y'all better understand what's going on with this stuff out here, man. It ain't looking good at all, man. It's getting actually exponentially worse by the day. You know what I mean? And shout out to my homie who I just was chopping it up with Court. I try to look at things as the half glass being half full and half empty, but I also got to, you know what I'm saying, stay in reality because, like I say, I've been given a sight to see, man. I can see where this shit is going, man. I know where this shit is headed. And it just, you know, as the days go by, y'all, and I just sit here and just look at the news and see what's going on, I'm like, God damn, man. God damn, man. It's almost to the point to where it's inevitable. You know what I mean? But even I realize that certain things must come to pass. You did. So, you know, all I'm going to say is enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride, brethren and sisters. Let's listen to more of Auntie.
You know, this planet is a remarkable place. This belongs to all of us. So all of us came from it, and we are going to go back to it also. And it doesn't particularly care what our opinion is. I think we have to take the effort and time to understand it better. I think we will be so much for the better for it.
Well, I agree with you. And sadly, what we're hearing now in the media is the massive fear campaign that we have limited water resources and we have water scarcity, when in fact we don't. And
actually, if we really look at it objectively, today we have more water than we ever had on this planet, in every sense of the word. The point is that we don't always have the water in the places where we would like to have it if we rely on the secondary water cycle, because that totally relies on that which evaporates and other considerations. Yet the planet itself has enough water, potable water locked up in it, that could see us through even these weather cycles, which we have for many unknown reasons, be it sunspots, be it other activities that we don't yet understand. But we have.
Did y'all hear what the homie just said? Did y'all hear what the homie just said, man? Right? Now think about when I just sit up here and told y'all that the secondary water cycle is the fallen state of the primary water cycle. Why on Earth, or in this case, why in Earth, will we ever consume water coming from the secondary water supply when we have an unlimited supply of fresh, alkaline, primary water that we can all access all over the world? Ask yourselves that question. All right. Why? Who benefits? Cui bono? Right? How did the oceans get so salty if they are in fact salty? All right. Let's go.
Absolutely more than ample water to see us through. In other words, we have a backup system, and that our backup system is this planet.
Then
And the resource it has to it provides.
Then basically, we've been living in a false understanding of where water really comes from. It's very similar to thinking of flat Earth science.
Indeed. I must concur with
flat
that
Earth
100%, because
out there, man.
this is the water planet. This is one of the few planets that have water sort of floating around. I mean, it looks blue from out of space, etc. However, we get all these icicles that are floating around, and witness the last ones that the Germans tried to put down this machine to check it out, and they landed it on a piece of dirty ice. That is
interesting. Well, I wanted to wrap up this discussion with a final question, because it's certainly what is being discussed as a reason to implement these emergency well drilling moratoriums, particularly such as the one that was recently implemented in October in Ventura County in California. They were saying that they had to stop drilling and reducing the groundwater table because of ocean intrusion. And the way I'm understanding it, and you could help please explain that, because we're hearing the conversation that the abutment of farmland and or land in general to the ocean is now finding increased levels of salinity, which is literally creating land that people can no longer farm on because of the high salt content.
Yeah.
But I'm understanding that if we allowed
Instantly
these
destroying the soil
aquifers to recharge by seeking the recharged value from the primary water, that we would then create that force against the ocean, and the ocean would not then be filling in these vacant areas that could be recharged with primary water. Am I making any sense out of what I just said?
You make all kinds of sense. Specifically, Ventura County. If anybody in these Californias should understand better, it should be Ventura County.
In regards to what Auntie Deb just said, though, right? Basically, what she just said was, it's safe to say that now think about what happened up here in Ohio, right? In my state of Ohio, right? And now think about, the train derailment, right? She just sat there and said that why would we ever access water that is connected to the secondary water cycle when we can access water from the primary cycle, right? That's basically what Auntie Dale was saying. And as far as the oceans and stuff go, if we were accessing the primary water aqueducts versus straight from the ocean, right, or from streams that the ocean is connected to, we should just be getting it from the primary water sources. I mean, it makes sense though, right? Crazy, man.
Ventura County in the Santa Clara Valley, which is a river that it's a major river. It goes into the Pacific Ocean, basically in Oxnard and Magoo. That is basically the Santa Clara Valley's basin. This is an ancient river basin. And because of farming, that basin, boy, they are and still are pumping water out of there like there would be no tomorrow. Well, much of that water did originate down below. Much of that water is primary in origin, but a good portion of it is secondary, which is atmospheric. And it is recharged from the surface. So now, if you take both, because there has to be a balance before you can take so much out of any, there has to be an inflow and an outflow into a basin, but be it your bank account, and they like to refer to it as our future bank account, and how we are depleting it in the form of water. That's how they refer to it. Well, now, they don't even know where the hell their money's coming from. That's a sad part.
That's crazy.
Because a good portion of that water in Santa Clara Valley does in fact come, and they know that, it comes from the atmosphere. So what they have been doing in the past, they have been, whenever they overdrawn that basin, they have been pumping California water into that basin to recharge that system, even if there were drought periods, in order to maintain the ability of that basin to sustain itself and keep the salt water out. Well, now, you can accomplish that by getting that water out of the California aqueduct. At the same time, you could do that if you had water wells in structures that Ventura County is very well noted for. You could pump that same water and keep the water if that's how you want to distribute water, because all this is nothing else but water distribution now. In other words, you could get water, and where is the water? Where is the cheapest? What is the cheapest form? What is the cheapest access for that water? Is it drilling some water wells farther up in the foothills of, let's say, in Ojai, in certain places into the Saugus Formation, etc., and then use that water to recharge? But it has nothing to do with the atmosphere. Or just go ahead and rob Peter to pay Paul, get the water out of the aqueduct system. And that's what they have been doing all these years. So now there's a problem in the Santa Clara Valley because their water tables are dropping, water levels are dropping, where the Pacific is definitely intruding on them. But this is nothing new. Hell, I've been watching this for the last 40 years.
So basically, it's the simple
Yes,
logic.
it's a simple matter of recharging the Santa Clara Valley. The question is, where are you going to get the water to recharge that basin from? You see?
So it would be recharged from obviously primary water.
Well, that's what I would do. I certainly wouldn't. I mean, where you obviously don't have enough water now in the California aqueduct system. Okay, so what are you going to do? You're gonna now not let people farm, because they are now drawing more water out of that basin, because there is a definite basin there that has the fresh water on top and the salt water on the bottom. And if you take too much fresh water out, here comes the salt water.
Well, Paul, I want to tell you that the primary and secondary water cycles are very simple for people to understand. We just have not been taught. And this,
I hope I didn't add any to the confusion.
No, actually, you explained it in great detail.
Very
an explanation that is very important.
Very simple.
So that people can understand where water really comes from. I really appreciate you explaining this illustration that you created in such detail as you have, because I think what this will enable is for more people that are finding they can't farm or they can't raise enough crops to pay their mortgages, etc. They will be thinking in terms of where the water really can come from. And that is, of course, where the water originates. And that's deep within the mantle of the earth. And we have plenty of water. It's in abundance. We don't have...
Forgive me, but you live there in the Sonoma country area. But you know, that last earthquake should have been the wake-up call that there wasn't even there wasn't any more water there than anywhere else.
Now you're talking about the 6.0 earthquake that occurred in Napa, California.
Suddenly you had streams running again. And then, you know, everybody says, oh, yeah, well, it always happens that way. But wait until it slows down. Well, my God, you know, that water has to come from somewhere. The total volume of the water that was extracted by Mother Nature and was given to the surface should have sunk that whole county by a couple of feet in total. You understand? It makes no sense that people don't ask that, because yes, you have sinkholes. You can't take something from somewhere and not have a minus. And water is not compressible. Now, you know, you can't compress water. That's what basically floats a lot of things. And well, take a look at the illustration.
Yes.
And, you know, down below, that's what it is. It's water. But the thing is, that county should have been a wake-up call. Somebody should have been looking at that instead of poo-pooing it and say, well, you know, it always happens that way. But don't worry about it. 3 months later, everything will be back to normal. Either it will rain or the other reservoirs that were depleted just below the surface will be refilled. Yeah. So equilibrium will be reached. It is remarkable. It is remarkable that none of these august scientists are not looking at the situation, very quick to make pronouncements on who should not and who should do what.
Well, I want to really express my appreciation for your taking the time to explain this illustration of the primary and secondary water cycles, Paul. For everyone that's listening, you can go to, and we recommend that you go to primarywaterinstitute.org. Again, primarywaterinstitute.org. We also link to this information from stopthecrime.net. And you can find the primary water link at the top of stopthecrime.net on the home page. Paul, thank you so much for giving us a class today on where water really comes from.
Yeah, and I really would like to thank you and my team, including the person who illustrated that poster, because without it, this would not have been possible. And I really feel privileged that there are people here that are thinking and are doing.
Well,
so
I think
it has been a privilege, and I thank you. Deborah.
Well, thank you so much, Paul, and we'll get this information out far and wide. Thank you again.
Bye-bye.
Hello, I'm Matt Reardon, and thanks for watching this Monday evening in-depth.
All right. So yeah, y'all, man, that was Auntie dead. Yeah, they're coming up with all type of little innovative stuff, man. You know? Yeah, y'all, primary water, y'all. I'm telling y'all, man, what y'all know about primary water, right? Man, sit up there and had us thinking that, you know what I'm saying, we got us thinking we about to run out of water. You feel me? Thinking this water shortage, talking about the water crisis. There y'all go right there, man. Go to Auntie Deb's website, man. www.stopthecrime.net. I'm talking about she got so much information over there, y'all, and it's for free. Do y'all understand the level of declassified government documents Deborah Tavares got over there on her goddamn website, man? She giving that stuff out for free. You hear me, y'all? You know how much money her and her husband have spent on Freedom of Information Act, getting all the information that they ain't done amassed over the years? You know, shout out to Deborah Tavares for being a straight up gangster, man. That lady is a gangster, man. I got hella respect for Deborah Tavares, man. Go check out her website, y'all, www.stopthecrime.net. I'm talking about the information that she has amassed. Oh my God, man. I see why there's been many attempts on her life. I can understand why they shut her down on YouTube. Right? Now you can get people that probably got old clips of her stuff, but her actual YouTube page, you got very limited stuff on there if it's even still popping. Hold on, let's go see if Auntie Dad still got a let's see if Auntie Dad still got a YouTube page. Oh, she still got her page on here. Oh, she still got her page. Right? Auntie still popping. It's one of my possible potential guests getting in contact with me right now, talking about when she's gonna come on the show for not this Thursday, but next Thursday. Right? Got a lively young sprite coming on the show. I think y'all gonna like her. She's funny, but she's also a very intelligent young lady, and she's got a lot of positive things going on. So, you know, she could be she's definitely a positive influence, role model for young ladies, for real, for real. Already. And this chick right here, she off the chain, man. She's a smart girl, though. You feel me? Can I share the link to her YouTube? Yeah, I'm about to pull it up for y'all right now. I was me about to pull it up on the screen when my guest is coming on the show for Letty's night next Thursday, not this Thursday, but next Thursday. She just texted me, so I apologize about that. All right, well, this is Auntie Deb's page right here. She has nothing in her about section, which makes me wonder if this is really her page, which is probably not. All right. This is her page right here, and I'm gonna put the link to it in the chat. For real though, y'all should go to her website though that I showed her. That Stop the right there, stopthecrime.net. That's where y'all really want to go. You can go to her YouTube page as well, but her website is where all the actual documents is at. You feel me? There go her YouTube page right there. That's the link to the YouTube page. You know what I'm talking about? But y'all should definitely go check out that website, though. That's where she has all the documents. You feel me? That's where she got all, I'm talking about massive documents, man. Facts, right? Yeah, I'm telling y'all want to go check out Auntie Deb's website, man. You are not going to be disappointed, man. The level of information she got on there is crazy. Crazy. Facts. You hear me? Like I said, I understand why it's been a temple in this lady's life and all that stuff, man. You hear me? But that's what money do, though. I told y'all her husband was very wealthy land developers, man. They own massive apartment complexes and stuff like that. So, you know. That's Auntie Deb for y'all, man. Deborah Tavares. All right. Right. So I told y'all we have these landmines in our cities called wastewater treatment facilities, right? Out here in my area, our wastewater treatment facility is right next to the workhouse or the secondary county jail. Right?
We're entering the wastewater treatment. This is a huge facility. We'll have more information as we tour it, get brochures, etc. But this went for miles along the road as we turned in to enter the facility. They're
having a open tour of the wastewater treatment facility.
So we're stopping here.
And you'll be fine. And then what we'd like you to do is go to the info booth.
And we will.
Yep.
And that's straight in.
That is. They've
All
got
right.
goodies for you and information.
Tap water comes from our tap water that comes from wells, or they
Tap water is smart. Right? Tap water is smart. What I tell y'all SMART stand for? Strategic Military Armaments and Residential Technology. So whenever y'all hear that word SMART, especially if you see it like abbreviated, like it's like an acronym, Strategic Military Armaments and Residential Technologies. So if our tap water is smart, that means it's been weaponized. Man, y'all better pay attention to what's going on out here, man. Tap in, walk with us, man.
They come from the Russian River.
Okay, so we know the Russian River is very polluted and it has had sewage spills in it. So that is why then it's been treated and then offered as tap water. Is that why you have to treat the Russian River water?
Well, you have to treat all raw water. All raw water needs to have a certain amount of treatment applied to it.
Raw water.
Raw
Okay,
water. So that would be any water. You know, there's nobody who drinks water from a stream. You could go up into the mountains. You drink the water from the mountains, you'll get giardia. You have to filter the water no matter what you do.
So all atmospheric water needs then to be filtered rather than water that would come from down below.
Atmospheric water. You mean like rainwater?
snowmelt.
Rainwater is probably mostly pure.
Are you ready to go?
See how retarded, well, I'm going to say retarded, but see how uninformed these so-called experts are? They're not even aware of the primary water cycle. Right? This guy's supposed to be an expert who works at the wastewater treatment facility, and he's not even aware of what primary water is, let alone what the primary water cycle is. Like I say, man, repeaters, man. You just know enough to do your job. That's it.
Rainwater is mostly pure.
Rainwater is mostly, matter of fact, rainwater will be the most polluted form of water.
And if you, depending on what surface you're collecting it off, that's where the impurities get in.
So the rainwater, as it's collected into the reservoirs and flows over farmlands that are using pesticides and other pollutants, that then become an entrapment in reservoirs, is pure, because they have to put all
Well, that's
kinds of
why I said
chemicals
that's
in
why
to
it depends
treat
on the surface that you're collecting it off
all
of.
the
right?
surfaces are pretty
Yeah.
toxic, wouldn't you say?
I don't think I would say that.
And why?
Why aren't all the surfaces toxic? Well, because there's natural cycles, and in every cycle, there's every part of the life cycle of organisms. The plants help feed bacteria and nematodes and other soil organisms that help cleanse and eat the things that are in the water. So nitrogen and phosphorus are great pollutants, but they're also great fertilizers for plant growth. And so there's these natural cycles that occur.
So let me stop you right now, though, and I want to ask you another question, but I'd like to film these pictures here. So if you would just catch these pictures. This is before. Describe before for us. What does that mean in a sentence?
So before, here's a typical landscape where turf has been used as a green cover over the ground.
And this is less desirable than the after, because it's saying water smart. Ask us about free tools, tips, and rebates. Efficiency is beautiful. So tell me, why is after better than the before?
So after has a much more diverse plant palette. So you have a diversity of plants, which means you have a greater diversity of plant root depths. And the plant roots actually become a major component of soil and soil building processes. And organisms use plant roots. They attach to them. They might get energy from them, and they might help the plant survive. With the turf, you don't get that so much. Turf, you have to add all the inputs. Turf requires external fertilizers and lots of herbicides to keep it weed free. Whereas in the other area, the natural processes that happen with a
variety of a plant palette is
plants
what you're saying. I understand.
Will help.
Okay.
And it doesn't require fertilizer.
Can you just answer some questions? Okay, so no face. So we're here at the Laguna Wastewater Treatment Plant. Today is Saturday, and it is September the 22nd of 2018. We're waiting to go on our walking tour of the treatment plant. So in the meantime, we're here getting some very valuable information from the various presentations and kiosks with brochures and so forth. I've just picked up a kid's coloring book, and it's an opportunity for children to color, play games, color, and learn about water with Dewey and Misty. And they come with crayons as well. What I would like is an explanation of what the children will learn from this coloring book. So if you would just give me a sentence about what the opportunity of learning is by children coloring in this coloring book. What is their take home?
Okay, would be you learn about all the different functions that the water department for the city does. Different cities will do various things. Some places you have a special districts that will do those jobs. We do the sanitary. We provide the water to the homes, and we take away the wastewater in the sanitary. We also have a recycled water program, and most of our water that is treated here actually goes out to either the geysers or irrigation or goes out to like farms.
So let me ask you, I was noticing coming down Yano, there was a sign that said only organic. Does that mean that they're not accepting the recycled wastewater treatment that you offer many of the grasslands here in the area? Do you know the sign I'm speaking of?
Oh, that was down the road?
Yes, it was.
I believe that is a I think isn't that the
It's a farm, an
yeah,
organic
it's
farm.
an organic
And
farm.
is it? Do you know that what their position is with the wastewater? Is that a sign against wastewater or not, as far as you know?
As far as I know, I don't think it's against the treatment plant, but you wouldn't consider it organic.
No, and you wouldn't.
You could, yeah.
You could not consider it organic if they were accepting wastewater treatment as a form of irrigation. Is that correct?
As far as I know.
Okay. So let me then ask you.
You hear that?
So when you say,
you hear that, man? Right? So the food cannot be considered organic if the water being used to irrigate the fields in which this alleged organic fruit is being grown is coming from the secondary water supply. Remember when I told you, man? That just started making my skin crawl, man. Right? Do y'all understand what I just said? Now, this is the EPA. EPA standards. Right? If the water that you are getting to irrigate your fields that you are growing crops on comes from wastewater treatment facility water, it cannot be considered to be organic. It's important to know where your food comes from, man. Just because you go to the grocery store and you get some vegetables that say it's in the organic section and they always are more expensive than other produce, you better make sure you know where your produce is coming from, where your grocer is getting its produce from. Do you know where the water supply is coming from? Because you might be buying some food that's organic and it ain't really organic. Because if it is grown with water that is coming from a wastewater treatment facility source or water that has been treated by a wastewater treatment facility, your food and produce that you produce is not considered organic. So then it makes you think, well, what does organic mean? As in relation to organic food and the food supply. Man, I'm sitting up here trying to tell y'all, man. Tap in, walk with me, man. Smash that like button, click on the bell.
Say wastewater treatment, you see these signs, recycled water since like 1978. You'll see these signs around many of the pastures and areas where I see dairy cattle grazing and where I see grass being grown, like, for example, on Occidental Road. That would not be considered organic then. Because,
probably not. I would think so.
Okay, so, and so you don't think so because we're talking about human waste being distributed?
Yes,
that's what we're talking
really
about.
Isn't anything in there, and it's clean. It matches our drinking water.
Okay.
But you have that ick factor, so people don't want to.
So people don't want to drink it.
Yeah.
Well, because we're hearing more and more now that recycled sewer water is being used now for disbursement into the municipal water supplies. So you're hearing this as well, is that correct?
Yes, as far as I know, it might be the way of the future that we have to. There has to be sufficient supply for everybody. I mean, this is one place to get it.
So a sufficient supply of water because we're running out of water?
Well, I mean, droughts, climate change, there's going
So
to be more droughts. So it can get harder in some places.
Okay, so many people are discovering primary water as being the originating source of all water supplies. It's new water that's created down below the mantle of the earth. And so it's an interesting situation that is occurring that we're not hearing much about. So it's just interesting that we're treating sewage to redistribute it in the municipal water supply because of all of the... Now, how about, where would I find here a list of things that are removed from the water. Do we know that fluoride is removed from the water?
Hot dogs are being served.
They don't put fluoride in the water here.
Good. I'm about to go back to that 40.
Where would you go if you were me to find the list of contaminants that this treatment plant is removing?
It's going to be a lonely time.
I can't think of any place that would happen. They may. I mean, they have an idea what they return. There's a number of chemists here, and they test the water all the time.
Because we're going to be separated next to us.
Yeah.
Great, we'll head over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not experts on
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for the...
I hear the questions she asking.
A water bear. In our mixed liquor,
You
there
hear
are
the
these
questions that she's
microorganisms.
asking?
They're a little bit bigger than these guys. They'll actually eat some of the smaller microorganisms that we find in our activated sludge, like some of the...
So now when you say activated sludge, you are talking about sewer water.
No, this is our activated sludge. It's called mixed liquor.
Okay.
If you take the hayride or a walking tour, you'll learn about the mixed liquor river. We actually add this to our treatment system. And it, you can see it's kind of, I keep picking it up, but all the solid waste, these kinds of critters will eat the solid waste and then they'll settle down because they'll be so heavy. And then in the bottom of the mixed liquor river,
I have a question.
yeah.
When you say
You all hear
solid
what
waste,
she's
could you
describing?
please explain exactly what you mean by solid waste?
Poop.
Okay, because that's what I asked, and I asked if it was sewer water. So how are you talking about? Poop
Okay,
if
so
it's
it
not
is sewer water. I apologize.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
so it
So they just dude just blatantly lied. Huh? So they're pumping chemicals along with microorganisms that consume the fecal matter in the wastewater. And through a process of a chemical / electrical process, all of these microorganisms, when they're full capacity consuming shit, they drop down to the bottom, and through a process of a chemical electrical process, they neutralize that, and the so-called water left over is now purified. And this is what we drinking. This is what's being used to grow our crops. Huh? Tap in and walk with me, man. We about to wrap it up here, y'all.
the mixed liquor is not sewer water. Our sewer water is mixed with this mixed liquor versus, so the mixed liquor is not sewer water, but the sewer water does mix with it, and then it settles out, and it takes out all that bacteria. And then what's left is our waste activated sludge, which we then thicken, dry, take it over to compost, and that gets mixed in the compost.
And then where is that sludge distributed?
The compost?
Yes.
Wherever compost decides to land apply. We have city farms that land apply.
So land apply for distribution of the sludge from the
Well, it's just a way to reuse it rather than taking it to the landfill and just throwing it in the landfill. We have found that if we add our thickened waste activated sludge, which turns into biosolids, into our compost, a certain percentage of it, I'm not sure the percentage, Amy next door can help with that. That is then used for land application on farms. Most of the farms on Mono are city owned or partners with the city, and they can use that. And it's a better fertilizer than most of the ones that they get because of the nitrogen that we add with our mixed liquor.
So now when you say the farms along Yall Road partner with the city, it's the benefit that they are then being able to use the what you would consider the benefits of treated sewer water. Is that right?
Yes, and they use our actual water as well, our final effluent. They can use for watering when we have excess.
Okay, so is that drinkable?
Because of the unknown quantity of medications that are flushed, I don't know if it's drinkable, but we do test every year the The only watering they do is for feed, and we test every year that feed, and we test the soil for bacteria, for metals, for anything that could make a human sick or an animal sick. We test that every year to make sure that the levels are still appropriate.
Okay, so now let me ask you, what about testing for fluoride? Because we know that does get into...
It does, and we test for fluoride every month. We don't fluoridate city water.
Right, no, I realize
but
that.
it doesn't come in through the system either. But we do
Medications and
test.
people that
Yeah, we
use
do test for it
toothpaste.
monthly. Yeah.
Okay.
And the levels are under, 1 part per trillion.
So the water sources that end up in this treatment plant are only from Santa Rosa?
No, we also partner with Katati, Sebastopol. I believe that's Katati, Sebastopol, not Windsor, and then the unincorporated areas. Like this is technically unincorporated.
What about Healdsburg?
Healdsburg has their own treatment plant, as does Windsor, and then Petaluma has their own treatment plant.
Okay.
So Roanoke Park as well we partner with. So we take all of that.
So of all that you know about the treatment of water as the ultimate idea of being able to offer more drinkable water with higher levels of treatment for municipal water supplies, because that's happening.
Yeah.
Okay, that is happening. So what is your how broad is your understanding of using sewer water, treated sewer water for municipal drinking water? How prevalent is that in this area?
It's not prevalent in this area, and it's because of what we call contaminants of emerging concern. We're now learning with all the medications or products that we use that go down into the system. We're just now learning what those break down into and how those affect humans. People can flush their birth control pills down the drain, but by the time it gets here and through the treatment system, we don't know what's left. We don't know if it's estrogen 1. We don't know if it's estradiol. So before we can determine what the breakdown parts of each medication is, there's not really a way to test for it. We can do HPLC, which is a detection for things like that, but we don't know what we're looking for.
Okay, so then let me ask you, because we know that many wastewater, sewer water treatment plants, or toilet to tap, as people call it, would have the concerns that you're speaking of, and they are being used for municipal drinking water.
I don't know of anyone in California that is. I don't think it's allowed yet, and it's because of those contaminants of emerging concern, because we just don't know exactly what we're looking for. I think down in the Central Valley, they do groundwater recharge, where they do take their final effluent and put it back through the ground to go back into the water table that is then put back into the system, the drinking water system, but then it goes through all of that treatment as well.
So let me ask you kind of a little side question here. Maybe you would know the answer, maybe you wouldn't. But I'm talking to people that are now learning that there are 2 levels of water supply. There's the secondary water supply that comes from rain and snowmelt, which is what I'm guessing you might be considering to be the water supply, rain and snowmelt. Okay, because what we do know is that water's created down below,
right,
from hydrogen and oxygen,
yes,
that merge together as a vapor,
yes,
and then surface in fissures and cracks, hot and cold springs, oases, geysers, etc. And that is unadulterated, pure, new water.
Right.
It doesn't have any effluent properties to it at all, because it's down below the recharged aquifers that are like basins,
right,
that prevent the water from going further oftentimes than just the floor of the basin. So would it, in your knowledge bank, would it not be better to be looking and drilling for that pure, clean water than to concern ourselves with treating sewer water for municipal water consumption?
That pure water is going to be limited, for my knowledge. It's limited because there's only so much hydrogen in the atmosphere and in the ground. There's only so much oxygen in the atmosphere and in the ground. People think we're only breathing oxygen, but it's about 20% oxygen that we breathe. So it's all going to be limited. It's never going to be replenished.
So wait a second.
But hydrogen is one of the most prevalent elements in the universe.
It's still finite.
Really?
There's only a finite amount. You can't create hydrogen. It's an element. It doesn't come from anywhere.
Now, do you have a bachelor's degree, or what is it that you have? Because you sound like you've really studied this. So where did you get most of your information?
Mostly the junior college and working. I've worked about 13 years in the industry, and I've been very interested, and I want to know everything that I possibly can know. So I want to be knowledgeable.
And we do too.
I'm glad. It's good to see public who are really interested and want to know, because it's really important. It's important. We only have so much water.
No, we don't. And that's what I was trying to
Okay.
Okay. Primary water is new water. It's a renewable. It's continuously made down below the mantle.
Okay.
In fact, if you look at the Great Man-Made River Project.
See what I'm talking about? See, y'all? See how they got us indoctrinated? They got people really thinking that we're running out of water. And Deborah Tavares just basically explained this to her. And if y'all paid attention, y'all see the glaze go over her eyes. See, she's been trained in college. She's been indoctrinated, not under the disguise of being educated. So all she can do when she's presented with information that totally challenges what she's been programmed to accept as reality and truth and fact, she doesn't know how to respond, but constantly to repeat like a goddamn robot that what she's been programmed to say. If y'all pay attention to her, she's starting to get a little bit of flustered. You can tell. What she doesn't seem to get due to her cognitive dissonance is that Deborah Tavares is telling her, like, no, we're not running out of water. We don't have a limited supply. Actually, we're never running out of water. We have a completely unlimited supply of fresh alkaline water produced daily by the natural processes of the Earth's energetic movements in the mantle. Hydrogen and oxygen are two of the most abundant elements that are a result of the tectonic movements of the Earth's plates and mantle. It's constantly being produced. It has been being produced since the beginning of time, since Genesis 1:1. How do you think the oceans got so deep? Right? And as Auntie Deb is sitting here explaining to this girl, who's clearly been indoctrinated, it's so challenging everything she's been taught to accept and believe is true, that she don't even know how to comprehend. Talk about some, Auntie Deb is hitting you with some new info, and you're sitting here telling about some, and that's why Deborah said what she said. When she said, well, you go to school or something, like you seem to know quite a bit about this. And I like this about Deb, because she was definitely being funny. Like, damn, you done been to college. You done learned about everything you learned about, but you don't know about this? It's crazy, right? Knowledge you ain't going to get from college, y'all. Tap in with us, man. Shout out to my brother, Red Supreme TV1.
By Muammar Gaddafi, you will find that he accessed primary water for his people and had a labyrinth of plumbing.
Remember when I was telling y'all about the man-made river project? We're about to look at that next.
Under the desert, he was able to deliver pure, fresh, unadulterated water.
Right.
It was blown up, by the United States and NATO.
Right.
It was the eighth wonder of the world. The IQs are much higher when people are accessing primary water than they are drinking this affluent water. So let's pan these vials And if you could just explain to us, this is the process, this is raw.
So this is our raw influent water. It is post rag and grit removal, so it's just water.
It's
After, yes, it is after like toilet paper chunk removal.
now we're saying chunk removal.
Yes.
And we're talking about hypodermic and we're talking about wipes.
It's spit water. Spit and piss water, y'all.
Yes.
So this is right after the removal of the chunks.
Yes.
This is what we get. So
yes.
Would we want to drink this?
No.
Okay, so we wouldn't want to drink that.
This still has, I mean, a considerable amount of solid waste down in the
So
bottom.
that we're looking at all kinds of
Yes, and ground up toilet paper that's too small to be caught by it's little hooks. If you take the tour, you'll see. And then this is our primary effluent. This is after our first treatment, and it goes through settling. So this is after our settling ponds. And as you can see, even the water's a little bit clearer. There's fewer chunks on the sides here, and a considerable amount less down here.
For how long is it allowed to settle?
I think it's about 12 hours. It's not too long. You'll see there's tanks, clarifier tanks, and there's a skimmer on top, and then everything settles down into the bottom. And so it gets rid of a lot of this and a lot of the stuff that's on the side and floating.
So in the final vial.
So this is our final effluent. This is what comes out and what we mostly send to the geysers to be steamed out.
Now,
And
why is it steamed out at the geysers? What's the benefit of steaming this out at the geysers? Now, the geysers are on the ridge top of the mountain range right behind
it's
us.
a power. We use it for power a lot. I believe there's a geysers table. They can explain that more to you. I'm not fully sure on that. No, I have not. And we use this as well, like I was saying, to water the grain fields for the farmers out on Wano out there. We haven't discharged in several years. We're supposed to discharge into the Russian River, but we like to avoid that.
Now, wait a minute. When you mean discharge into the Russian River?
Well, it's the Laguna de Santa Rosa.
Right.
And so before we can do that,
before you can discharge,
there's requirements we have to meet for testing. And even though we can meet those, we like to not have to do that. We don't want to have to introduce water to a system.
So what you're saying is the Russian River has notoriously been known for.
So of course, at the wastewater treatment facility, there's going to be waste left over after they treat the water. That waste that is left over from the already waste infused water is then, right, if it meets certain requirements, sent to this place he's talking about now. I'm talking about tearing her ass up with the questions. And she's not doing this to so-called place any type of blame on this chick. Why Auntie Deb is doing what she's doing, because she's showing her audience the lack of knowledge, right, and the levels of indoctrination that have actually been taking place in these so-called colleges, and how the people have been weaponized against ourselves, right, in the conveying of the true, actual agendas and what these places really are and what they do. Now, rather than tap into, listen to this, y'all, rather than tap into the primary resource, primary water resources, the primary water aqueducts that are all over the world, literally all over the world, rather than tap into that untreated, untampered with, non-contaminated water, pure alkaline water, straight from the processes of the Earth's movements producing hydrogen and oxygen. The purest water you're going to get, so much so that these people off the islands of Hawaii and in the southeast are going into the ocean and collecting this fresh water. versus just tapping into our primary water resources. They rather feed us and give us this, what they call a blend, or give us treated shit, piss, and pharmaceutical excrement water. This water is being used to flower our crops, to water our crops. This water is being used in our businesses, in our homes. Just think about all that water coming from the retention ponds at all the factories that's just sprawled all across America. With that contaminated ass water. Drilling her with the questions. That's what I will be too. I'll be tearing her ass up.
Raw sewage floating down it.
Yes.
So how is that even happening?
I have heard rumors, I don't know if they're true, that there are houses with treatment septic systems that are grandfathered in because they have been there so long that go straight into the river. And that's in Guerneville, around there.
So you aren't certain about that, then?
I'm not certain. It's what I've heard from several people. And I've done projects with the North Coast Regional Water Quality Board on bacterial contamination in the restrooms.
Okay, and it's high, I'm imagining.
It is high.
Okay, so basically then what I'm understanding is it really is not safe to swim in because somebody recently did get ill swimming in.
On beaches, they are held to strict bacterial standards. There has to be a certain under a certain level of contamination to allow people to swim on public beaches. People, of course, are going to go wherever they want in the river, but because it's not a public beach, it's at your own risk.
Okay, so let's just, if you would mind, hand this laboratory behind us here.
Good, how are you?
Really appreciate your explanation.
No problem. We make very concerned about the solids. We mix it with the green yard waste. All of that stuff used to go to landfill, and that's just not sustainable, and it's also not going to be allowed in a few years.
About that.
So yeah, though, man, y'all. This is why I wanted y'all to tap in with this video, man. This is why I want y'all to tap in tonight, so y'all can see what I'm talking about when I talk about what y'all know about primary water. Right? Now, this is ill, man. You hear me? Yeah, man. And this is what we call sustainability. All of this falls under UN Agenda of 2030. Right? All of this stuff y'all hear me talk about falls under UN Agenda 2030 for global sustainability. Right? They send up here, right? And they hitting us, like I said, they keep hitting us with little chicks like, Greta Thunberg, right? A so-called environment, whatever the hell she is, right? Don't know nothing about climate or the goddamn environment. They use the people like her to draw at our heartstrings, get us emotionally involved and attached, right? So we make rash decisions when we hit with this stuff, and we just go ahead and get authority to these people to decide what happens. Now, when we're talking about primary water, I think it's pretty evident, pretty clear that we've been lied to when it comes to our water supply, where it comes from. I think we've been pretty much duped on that. Because not a lot of people are aware to primary water, right? So, like I say, man, this is to let y'all know that the people in charge, they really don't care about us. Rest in the essence to Mike Jack, because he said he made a whole song, man. They can't care about us. And now you can get an idea of why what's going on in Flint is going on in Flint. Down there 10 years now, Flint. No help from anybody. Ukraine get all these billions of dollars, but the people in Flint are suffering horribly. Wastewater treatment. Waste means shit, piss, pharmaceutical excrement. That stuff that y'all was looking at. Let me skip. This what we was just looking at. Right? That right there. Y'all see that? That's shit. That's shit. And that's even less shit. And that's allegedly no shit. Man, this is upsetting. I think this stuff you gotta be able to find your cool, keep it cool when you're doing this research, y'all, because a lot of this stuff, right? A lot of this stuff is just downright disrespectful. It's just downright disrespectful. You know what I'm talking about? So, man, listen here, y'all, man. We about to get up out of here, man. I didn't even mean to go this long. To be honest with y'all, I apologize, but when I'm going, I'm flowing, and I ain't stopping, and you know what I'm talking about. But I think I pretty much covered it, man. I think I pretty much laid it out and broke down to y'all, especially with the help of Auntie Dad, what primary water is and what the primary water cycle is. Right? It shouldn't be no mistakes right now, man. You feel me? So understand, the water that we are drinking right now, I don't care where you think it's coming from. I don't care what company, man. Yeah, man, me too, Niquay, man. You feel me? What y'all know about primary water? Think about this, though, man. Think about how demonic this is, man. Rather than tap into the natural, alkaline, pure as could ever possible be water supply, endless, limitless, constantly renewing itself on a by-second basis, why not tap into that? And y'all hear what Auntie Deb said, when we are drinking or consuming the primary water, it makes our brains work better. It makes our bodies work better. We're more efficient. We're more on point. Our memory is better. Our memory is better. Primary water is conducive for the optimum running and operation of your digestive system, right? Your nervous system, your endocrine system, your respiratory system. You know, all of your body systems are going to operate at their highest ability when you are drinking and consuming pure primary water, alkaline water in its rawest form and essence, not tempered by anything, not even the filtration of the contaminated ground or upper crust. Huh? And why do we have these waste? Now you can kind of get an idea why we have these wastewater treatment facilities everywhere. So we can on one end say, well, these people are just greedy and they just want to keep all the alkaline, pure primary water to themselves, which is true. Now, both of these are true. Or we could say, right, or a combination of the two, that they're intentionally doing this. Why? Why would they intentionally contaminate the water supply? Why else would they do it? See, this is what I want y'all to start doing. I want y'all to stop having so much faith, having so much venerance, having so much let me just say faith, right? I want y'all to get out of having so much faith in the government and system of man. It is a representation of Lucifer, Satan, the devil, and he absolutely does not care about us. Matter of fact, he hates us, which is why he'll convince us, or our leaders, we've elected to be our leaders, to convince us that rather than tap into the natural state of the earth's alkaline, pure primary water, Lucifer, Satan, the devil would rather us have the secondary water cycle, which is the fallen state of the primary water cycle as a result of his contact with the earth, turn it into the world. Now we got to drink shit, piss, and pharmaceutical excrement, fulfilling the meaning of his name and the manifestation thereof in this reality. Lucifer recycled the recycling of fecal matter, the wastewater treatment process. Oh my God, man. It's very Luciferic, very satanic, very Saturn, very serpentine, right? I mean, yeah, they got alkaline water filters, man, but I mean, you know, there's not no guarantee that the filters they sell in the store actually do what they advertise them to do. Right? And I keep telling y'all, the only way that you're going to be able to naturally purify water that has been contaminated is it has to go through a process of reverse osmosis. This is what happens in the Earth's mantle. When the hydrogen and the oxygen that is a product of the movement of the mantle in the Earth's insides, right? When they evaporate, what did Auntie Dara just tell y'all? Y'all remember when water evaporates and turns into its gaseous state, all impurities have been removed because it's in its gaseous state. That's in its purest form or spirit. Right? So the only way to truly purify water in its natural way is for it to go to reverse osmosis, which is being changed from a liquid into a gas. You get it? I don't know. I don't even know if they sell reverse osmosis filters. Do they? I don't know. Maybe y'all know something I don't know. Oh, they do. They ain't cheap. The cheapest one I'm seeing is $159. I'm looking at one on Amazon right now. Yeah, they're pretty expensive, man. I guess it's worth it, though. I see one right here that's $529. I see one that's $329. Yeah, man. You know, they work to an extent, but there's no, you know, and listen to what I'm saying. The process that it goes through naturally, right, is the because when you got those reverse osmosis systems on your house, they run your electric bill up for one, right? And then you have to clean those because you know they have reservoirs that collect the, you know what I'm saying, the minerals and stuff that that's coming from out of the water, the minerals and impurities and stuff. So you got to clean that on a regular basis. So you know what I mean? I mean, you got the reverse osmosis system, but you know, you got to make sure it's upkept and make sure it's clean. And not only that, it uses a lot of water. Now, mind you, the water that y'all using is of the secondary water cycle, right? And they know this, and this is why they sell these reverse osmosis filtration systems. But see, what they didn't tell us about is the primary water supply. See, if we had access to our primary water like how we're supposed to, we would never even need a reverse osmosis purification system because it would go through the natural reverse osmosis process of when it comes through the Earth's mantle. Do you understand what I'm saying? As a result of the energetic movement within the Earth's mantle, a lot of hydrogen and oxygen is produced. You could, right? As those chemicals, as those compounds, as those gases, you know, rise to the surface and they become to condense, they form into pure alkaline water. The best water you could possibly ever drink, right? And it's literally all over the earth. It's literally an unlimited supply. It's literally replenishing itself every day, all day. Why are we not being given access to primary water? See, now you got to start asking real questions now. Cui bono? Why and cui bono? Does the pharmaceutical company benefit from people being healthy? Does the medical industry benefit from people being healthy? Ask yourself these questions, right? Do companies like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, do they benefit from this? Man, I keep trying to tell y'all, man, tap in, walk with us. We're going to wrap it up for the night. I appreciate everybody coming out. Tomorrow evening, me and my brother King Els, we getting straight to it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, and you know we're going to do it like we used to it. You hear me? We're going to be having another in-depth conversation tomorrow. I think tomorrow's going to be very important. It's going to be a very important show that we're going to have tomorrow. You know, everybody tap in and walk with us. You know what I'm saying? Tomorrow's show is going to be a real good one, too. You know what I mean? This is going to be tomorrow's show right here, y'all, man. Right? Mental health versus mental gymnastics. Right? And this is what we're going to get into tomorrow, man. Mental health versus mental gymnastics. Right? Yeah, but what is your water distilled from? Right? Understand what the process of distilling or distillation is. Right? It all depends on where the source of the water is coming from. If distillation is going to be a beneficial process to you drinking that water. Ain't no point in distilling some old shitty, pissy ass, drugged up ass water. Right? Tap that like button on your way out, man. Click on the bell, subscribe to the page, share your social engineering. You know what I'm talking about? Appreciate everybody coming out tonight. You know, we really appreciate it. I know I do. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate it, man. For real, because y'all, man, you know, y'all could be anywhere in the world. Y'all could be anywhere in the world. But you right here with me. And I appreciate that, man. So it's only right that I leave y'all with this song for the night show, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all gotta wake up, man, for real, man. Gotta wake up, man. Because, you know, it's getting crazy out here, man. Michael Jackson told us long ago, man, they don't really care about us. And it's a fact, they don't. They prove it to us all the time. Oh, you already know the quiet baby, man. I do, like I said, I do this for y'all, man. I do this research and all this stuff to put y'all up on game, man. You feel me? Doing it for y'all, man. And I mean that, man. You did. I'm telling you, I mean that, man. I ain't just sitting here blowing smoke up your asses, man. You know what I'm talking about? Rest in the essence to Kevin Samuels, man. Happy born day to the brethren. You feel me? Right? Happy born day to the brethren, man. Right? Happy born day to the brethren, Kevin Samuels, man. Rest in the essence to him. I know a lot of people feel some type of way about old Kevin Samuels, right? I had a lot of questions for Kev if I would have ever had the chance to interview him or talk to him or have a conversation with him. Oh, I would have had some questions that he probably would not have been comfortable with answering. Then again, maybe he would have been cool with answering them. I don't know. It could be argued. I don't know the man, so I ain't going to say. But I would like to think that I was out because I know the type of questions I would ask a guy like Kevin Samuels. You feel me? But regardless of any of that, I respect the brother for what he did bring. He did change the game, completely galvanized the entire world with bringing focus, not only bringing focus on the so-called relationship dynamic between black and men and women. He also simultaneously created a whole entire economy surrounding the very thing, to the point to even a year and some change after this nigga down to a year after this nigga dead. It's people who are on YouTube making a whole entire living for themselves simply by reacting to his old content or sharing his old content. So a lot of people who have some smoke or something to say about Kevin Samuels, they're actually eating and benefiting from off of him. So y'all need to pay homage either way it go. Right? Rest in the essence to our brother Kevin Samuels, man. You hear me? Rest in the essence to the homie, man. You know. Matter of fact, I'm about to play another song now, man. Matter of fact, we about to listen to a whole other song now, man. You did? Thank y'all for coming to the show tonight, man. You hear me? Rest in the essence to Kevin Samuels. Rest in the essence to the brother. And I'm going to dedicate this song right here to the homie Kevin Samuels, right? Featuring my man Nauseous, Rain Man, and my brother King Els off of the album Elite Nation Entertainment Presents The Stimulus Package. You hear me? Y'all see it on the screen. You did? Go grab that album right now on SoundCloud, man. You hear me? This is off of our group album, E&E Presents The Stimulus Package Volume 1. We're going to listen to this classic E&E banger right here. Hold on, it's the ads, I'm pretty sure.
shows listeners prefer a personalized experience. So to help you.
Rest of the essence to Kevin Samuels, man. You know what I mean? Rest of the essence to that brother, man. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all evening. Make sure y'all tap in with us tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. We going straight to it. Me and my brother King Els. Mental health versus mental gymnastics. We're going to get to it. Oh, my God, man. This is weak because they won't let you play another song until that is up. My God, damn. Crazy, man. Yeah, everybody stay healthy, man. Get y'all asses in that gym. Get y'all asses in that gym, man. You hear me? Drink your water, man. Even as contaminated as it is, why you go to the sauna and shit like that. That's why you gotta work out and shit like that. Rest of the essence of Kevin Samuel, man. This song is dedicated to the brethren. Days gone by off of that stimulus package.
You are here.
Offended when you try your best and I disregard it. Pacemaker flow, damn, I'm so disheartened. Number 2, pencil shit, make sure yours is sharpened. Put you inside of a circle, make you my target. Man, I miss my nigga Meat almost 20 years. Ever since that call from Cook, I've been wiping tears. My man Randy O, all deserve a standing O. Never be forgotten, man. That's all in the family code. Every time we type the bottle, we thinking about you both. If we not blood related, then we damn near close. I just keep rolling up just to ease the pain. Man, this shit got me feeling I can fly a plane. I be getting painted, not your average artist. Now I'm all about titles like the glove compartment. Wake these cats up. Man, I'm so alarming. Got the game on lock. Call the tech department.
You are here.
Get into this currency, that's a state of emergency. Every day is not for granted, so I move with urgency. Blowing on some of the finest green that this earth has seen. If it's heavy with crystals, the shit is kind of purpley. Sick, that's my cousin, man. We've been here since 82. Wasn't Costa Nostra, but we moved like the mobsters do. Thanks to these snitch niggas, they really tried to prosecute. Said I was working the strip heavy like a prostitute. Really, I was moving from a bird's eye like the vultures do. Had a nice lawyer, but I knew it was gonna cost a few. Case got thrown out, and I was back where the bosses be. Give up or quit, that was never in my glossary. You niggas is full of shit. I think you need a colonoscopy. Classic after classic. If you read our discography, when E&E drops, we surplus the whole economy. You never seen this many stars together, it's like astrology.
You are here.
Finally, I've arrived, now prepared for the awakening. Pops called me Rick, and I don't know why. Now let's take this in. Raindrops on my lens inside and out. Talking to the dirt like mostly great, but it's gonna come with some pain and hurt. Life was so much easier to see when you cry from hurt. Only when you're scraping your knee. Not when the combos make believe. Still wonder if they hear me. Talking to the dirt, I wonder if they hear me. Honor my kings when I pop the cork. Let them drink before they sip this. I ain't talking about hip hop or pop if I mention you on the hit list. Please all forgive this. How can we live this? Mistress making a grip. That's so relentless, though we be tempted. Made this so you know how the shit is.
Days gone by.